Hello everyone. Today, we are going to cook a giant burger, weighing about 3 kilograms. How many people do you think you can feed with this burger? Since I did not find a ready-made loaf of this size, I will have to bake it myself. To begin with, turn on the oven at 200 degrees. Now, we need to spread out the dough in order to form a bun. Be sure to take parchment paper and pour flour on it so that the dough does not stick. Now you need to untie the package, but it's not easy to do. I had to resort to using a knife just to cut it. I couldn't untie it. Now, carefully dump out a piece of dough from the package. There's about a kilogram of it here. Quite a lot, but it seems to me that it will turn out what is needed, and we see a huge bubble inflating. It inflates and it's better to burst it. As you can see, the dough stuck a little anyway. I needed to add more flour. Now our task is first of all, to peel it off from the paper, pour a little more flour, and form a bun. Since the dough was in the bag and it was already ready, it began to bubble a little. We need to remove these bubbles. It just needs to be crushed and reformed into a bun. Then, it will turn out dense and without any huge air bubbles inside. We do this and give her a little lie down, rest. Now it's time to do the cutlet. Or rather minced meat. Rather, cutlets, which will be made of minced meat. We take about a kilogram of minced meat. I measured it very simply. I took about half a package, which contained about 2 kilograms. And now we need to add a few, but very important ingredients to it, otherwise nothing will work. To make the minced meat more juicy, we need an onion. I decided not to add too much of it, because I was afraid that the cutlet would fall apart. After all, she is really healthy, and she had to be turned over somehow. In fact, there could have been more onions. That's why I'm cutting half of the onion here, but if you like onions, you can cut the whole one right there, and it will turn out fine. So, half of the onion is ready, probably even a little less, but the onion is healthy. In addition, we grind it and put it all into minced meat. Now you need to add a little salt. Again, salt to taste. I like more salty minced meat so that the cutlet is straight, juicy, delicious, but if you don't like salt, salt less, or don't salt at all. Now, it is necessary to have freshly ground pepper, because it gives the maximum taste to our cutlet. If you don't add it, it won't be the same. And of course, the cherry on the cake of our cutlet is smoked paprika. I generally add it everywhere, so I highly recommend adding smoked paprika. It will really taste. Now we take it and just knead it right by hand. Carefully, so that nothing falls out, because we need to save all the ingredients to get the most juicy taste. Mix it with your hand until smooth. Slowly, you need to make sure that the onion, spices, paprika and salt are distributed evenly throughout the cutlet. Therefore, for some time we just mix and let it lie down a little bit, so that the salt will disperse, and all the spices will give their taste to our cutlets. If you forgot about the fact that we haven't baked a loaf yet, then it's time to remember about it. While we are preparing minced meat, let's do the bun. First we move it to the baking sheet, and now we need to lubricate it with egg in order to form a bright, colorful, beautiful, juicy crust. Just like in a purchased hamburger. We take 1 egg, and we need to make it a homogeneous mass with a fork, respectively. We mix it as if we are cooking an omelette. But, just 1 egg is enough, you don't need a lot. Mix well, so that everything really turns out to be homogeneous. And now we need a special brush, with which we will smear our bun. As you can see, it has already grown a little in volume, after I crushed it. And now you need to carefully mix it. Do not spare the eggs, really smear right all over the top. It will only benefit. And now the cherry on the cake rolls. We take sesame seeds and carefully sprinkle them on top. But this is for beauty, maybe a little for taste, but more for beauty. It's inconvenient to get into the jar with your fingers, so it's neat, but we pour it right normally, so powerfully, as to cover the whole bun from above. Well, now it is no less responsible and pleasant stage. We immerse our loaf together with a baking sheet in a preheated oven to 200 degrees and leave for about 30 minutes. Well, now it's time to fry the cutlet. We take olive oil, smear it on a heated frying pan, and put the formed cutlet there. Immediately, I start to press her, so that she does not shrink, because she will shrink, because she is so hefty, and we hold her. First fry one side, then we will turn it over. On the one hand, it would be possible to add even more minced meat, but even so, it turned out very tasty and juicy. Very tasty and juicy. But really, as you can see, it squeezed a little bit at the end, and you could try to make it even more. After about 2 minutes of frying, maybe 2.5, it was time to turn it over, and it turned out to be a really difficult task. I was afraid that it would break, but still, I managed to do it with the help of 2 blades. And now it's time to check whether the loaf is cooked or not. It looks amazing. We put a skewer in there, and everything seems to be fine, but if you shove it a little deeper, it becomes clear that the dough is still damp inside. Let's give a few more postulates. Now that the bun and cutlet are almost ready, it's time to do the stuffing. I started with cheese. To begin with, I cut the usual one, and then I started unpacking the already sliced one. As it turned out, 2 packages of sliced cheese were enough for me, and the usual one could not even be cut. We will also need tomatoes, pickles, and of course, an onion. We cut off the upper-lower lids from the tomatoes to eat them, and cut the tomato itself into slices, so that it is convenient to put it on our burger. So, now with the second tomato, we also cut it off, and also eat it naturally, because without tasting, well, somehow so-so. But now, we have 2 tomatoes ready large enough, and this is quite enough for us. Now we impose a bunch of cucumbers. I decided not to bother, and cut them straight into very small slices, and just decided to divide them into 2 parts, each cucumber. In principle, it turned out fine. Nothing fell out, everything was quite good. Now, a few slices of onion. I didn't add much, because I thought that the onion was not red, and it would be bitter. But in fact, it was practically not even felt. You could have added more. Now the most crucial moment has come. We need to put it all together properly. As you can see, the bun is baked inside, everything is fine. And we start by adding the sauce. We add it, we do not regret it. This is a special sauce for burgers. It's ready-made. I haven't even read its composition, but it tastes like kitchen with mustard added. In principle, you can cook this yourself, but this one is ready-made and fast, simple and delicious. Smear over the entire surface and stack the lettuce leaves. As you can see, there is a whole package of salad already here. I thought there would even be a lot of this, but as you will see later, this is exactly what you need. The more salad, the juicier it will taste, probably. So, we stack the lettuce leaves neatly. We do not regret. We stack, in order to continue to collect it further. Now it's time for tomatoes. We stack the tomatoes neatly, and, as I said, 2 tomatoes were just enough to put completely on our bun. Even as you can see, a little bit left. Now it's time for cucumbers. We do not hesitate to spread cucumbers. There is also a little bit left there, literally a couple of pieces, but in general, just the amount that is needed. You can watch the video, calculate if you suddenly do the same. By the way, I recommend it. It turned out to be a really delicious burger. However, then the heaviness on the stomach it doesn't matter. Now the onion, we add the onion on top like this, just a little bit of it literally, to add a little of this onion flavor here. Since I have already said that the onion can be bitter, since it is not red, so I did not add much of it. Now the most important ingredient is a cutlet. We plant it on the surface. As I said, it was possible to make even a little more, because, you see, it shrank a little, but nothing. It didn't affect the taste in any way. Now we spread out 2 packs of unwrapped cheese. First here, you see, such a yellow, then a whiter cheese went. We spread it all out. Naturally, some pieces came up while all this was being assembled, but nevertheless, all this was enough. Everything turned out quite cheesy and delicious by itself. We spread it out without regret, so that the whole thing now melts a little more. Since both the bun is hot and the cutlet is hot, and all this will acquire a homogeneous mass, I also decided to add a little lettuce leaves on top, because the more green leaves, the better. And the lid, although it wasn't supposed to be smeared with sauce, according to the recipe, but I decided to do it so that it turned out to be a little more juicy, because there really is a lot of bread. I wanted to add a little more juiciness to this burger, at least in this way. And so we cover it and everything is ready. We press it a little bit. Just look at what a machine we have turned out to be. It's really hard to even lift it.